Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Nicole with Made from Scrap, and let's get started with the tutorial for this album. It is going to be a tri-fold album, and as you can see I am using heavy chipboard, and I have two pieces that measure 6.5 by 9 inches. So that's going to be the finished size of the album. Then I have another piece that measures 5.5 inches by 9 inches. And then I have two spine pieces. The one on the left is going to be 2 inches by 9 inches, and the one on the right is going to be 1 inch by 9 inches. I have already cut these down and went ahead and put some double-sided score tape on the back of it so that I can speed this along, but you can make sure to slow down or pause the video so you can work along with me. So I am using some brown artisan cardstock. All of these items that I'll be using in this project can be found at countrycraftcreations.com. If you use the affiliate link that I have in the description box, that will take you right to the website, and it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does give me a little kickback. So I am using two pieces of cardstock, and this measures 8.5 by 11. So these two sheets are going to line up with my 6.5 by 9 inch pieces, and it's going to give me a 1 inch border all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to have two of those, just like so. Then I'm going to have a piece that measures 7.5 by 11 inches, and that is going to line up with my 5.5 inch by 9 inch piece of chipboard, again, so that I have 1 inch all the way around when I glue that down. Okay, next I am going to have a piece that measures 4 inches by 11 inches, and this is going to be for my right hand spine, the 1 inch piece, and you'll notice that when we center this, this is going to give me a 1 inch space on the top and the bottom, and a 1.5 inch space to the right and to the left. Okay, then next I'm going to use a piece that measures 5 by 11, and that is going to be for my left hand side spine. Again, 1 inch at the top and the bottom, and 1.5 inches to the right and to the left. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get all of my chipboard attached to my cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and use the lay flat method, where we wrap our cardstock around the edges of our chipboard for the larger pieces, and then for the spine pieces we only wrap the top and the bottom. We leave the left and the right sides as wings that are open. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I will be right back. Oh, one other thing, as part of that lay flat method, those wings that we have left are what we use to attach the pieces together. We glue those together. So let me go ahead and get that done. If you have any questions about the lay flat method, go ahead and click on the link that I have in the description box below. It'll bring you to a tutorial to show you exactly step by step how to do that. When I come back, we'll work on the interior, putting together some of the hinge pieces, and I'll see you right back here soon. Okay, welcome back. Now that I have all of my pieces together, I will be covering these spines with cardstock as well. So I have one piece that measures 4 by 8 7/8 inches, and that's going to go over top of the 2 inch spine, just like that. And then I have one piece that measures 3.5 inches by 8 7/8 inches, and that is going to go over the 1 inch spine. So I'm just going to use my art glitter glue and go ahead and place some glue on this. Place some on here, and then I'm going to go ahead and eyeball center this top to bottom, left to right. I'm going to burnish down the middle, and I'm going to go ahead and push down into that crease on either side of the spine, just like that. Okay, and then I'll burnish the other side of that wing and make sure that it is stuck down really well. Okay, and then same thing goes for this side. Place glue on there, on that chipboard. Okay, eyeball center this, just like so. Push it to the middle, and then go ahead and burnish. Press down into the groove on either side. Make sure that you're training that paper to go down in the groove. Okay, and then burnish those wings. Okay, and just like that, you have a trifold, and you have the 1 inch on the right hand side. Let me go ahead and work this paper a little bit. If you don't have artisan cardstock, you probably are not going to be able to work the paper like that, but this is a linen, so you should end up with something that looks like this, kind of the lowercase letter E. But I think where you can see what we're doing, we have a lot of space for putting goodies in here, and we have a lot of space for putting goodies in there, okay? So 1 inch for each of them. All right, so what are we going to do next? Oh, Nicole, we're going to finish gluing down our wings. I need to make sure to let that take hold. So let me burnish this again. Okay, I don't usually put this extra glue on, but I need to refill my other glue bottle with the other tip. So I'm using this one. Probably shouldn't be. But, all right, get that in there, get that in there. Oof, what a mess. Good grief. Guess I need to let that dry, but yeah, I'm impatient. But anyway, all right, next. I have 2 pieces that measure 1 inch by 8.5 inches. On the 1 inch side, I'm going to score it in half. Okay, so you have 1 score line there, and all you got to do is burnish that thing down, right down the center. Okay, then that is going to be one of our flaps. Same thing for the second one. Okay, go ahead and burnish. Give that a good crease, and that is going to be our second one. Okay, I have already used double-sided tape. I will be layering one on top of the other, just like this, creating a U channel, and that's going to allow me to place my my pages on the right hand side, which is that 1 inch spine piece. Next, I have the 3 inch wide piece by 8.5 inches. With the 3 inches at the top of your scoreboard, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inches, 2.5 inches. So at every 1/2 inch, if you can see that. Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and burnish every single one of those lines. Okay. Just like that. Okay. Then you're going to make sure to fold the outside edges up. Just like that. Okay. Then you're going to fold the other side. Work it both ways. All right. Next, what we're going to do is flip it over. The middle 2 1/2 inch lines, you are going to place glue, or you're going to use double-sided tape on one of them. And then we're going to go ahead and fold those together. Okay, so I use double-sided tape on this one. I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to fold on that middle score line, just like that, and I'll burnish it down. Okay, Then I can fold against that, open it back up, and now it looks like you have 4 1/2-inch pieces. Get in frame. Okay. So what we've done is if you flip it over, we've created this hinge that's right in the center. Okay, it looks like this now. Just like that. Okay, a T. Then when you fold up these outside edges and give these a good burnish, you're going to create something that looks like an E. Okay, just like that. Uppercase E. So these are going to allow all 3 album pages, and that is going to get centered right onto the 2-inch spine piece. But what we want to make sure to do is, if you're going to use decorative paper, you're going to go ahead and do that now. And the other thing I want to consider is whether or not I am going to be using any ribbon for a tie closure. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get my decorative paper down onto the spine pieces, and then I will be right back. Okay, we're going to start with the left-hand side. This is the inside of our album, and we're going to start with a piece that measures, this is 7 3/8 inches wide by 7 inches tall, and on the 7 3/8 inch side, we're going to score it at 1/2 inch on both sides. Okay, and make a long pocket, and then you're going to have a 1/4 turn, so then you're going to have the 7 inches at the top, and you're going to score that at 1/2 inch. This is going to be a tall pocket, okay, which means that we're going to go ahead and cut out our 2 corners. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to keep the scissors nearby so that we're just going to stack and go as we score. Okay, so I'm going to lay that down on the left hand side of my album. Next, I'm going to have a piece that measures 7 3/8 inches by 4 inches tall. And again, on the 7 3/8 inch side, we're going to go ahead and score that at 1/2 inch on both ends. And then we're going to have it a 1/4 turn, so we're going to have the 4 inches at the top, and we're going to score this at 1/2 inch. Again, that's going to make a pocket, so on those corners, we're going to go ahead and cut that out. All right, cut this one out. All right, I'm going to turn that this way, and this is the way this pocket is going to go. Next, we need 2 pieces that measure 4 1/2 inches by 3 1/4 inches. So with the 4 1/2 inches at the top, we're going to go ahead and score it at 1/2 inch, rotate it all the way around, and score it again at 1/2 inch. Then you do a 1/4 turn so that you have the 3 1/4 inches at the top of your scoreboard, and we're going to score that at 1/2 inch. Again, it's a pocket, and the second one is going to be done exactly the same way. Okay, exactly the same way. Okay, so let me cut this out. All right, next we are going to have one piece that measures 12 inches wide by 9 inches tall. You're going to put this in a scoreboard with your 12 inches at the top, and we're going to score it at 1/2 inch and 5/8 inch. Then you're going to score it at 6 5/8 inch. Okay? You're going to stick that on your pile. Next, you're going to have a piece, again, that measures 12 inches by 9 inches. You're going to put that in your scoreboard with the 12 inches at the top, and you're going to score that at 1 1/4 inches, and then 7 1/4 inches. 7 1/4. Okay. And then lastly, for this left-hand side of the album, you're going to have another piece that measures 12 inches by 6 1/2 inches. And with the 12 inches at the top, you're going to go ahead and score it at 1/2 inch, 4 3/4 of an inch, and 9 inches. Okay, and that is it for the left-hand side. I'm going to put a simple paper clip over that. Next, for the center, you need a piece that measures 7.5 inches by 3 inches. We're going to go ahead and score that with the 7.5 inches at the top of your scoreboard at 1/2 inch on both sides. Okay, and 1/4 of a turn so that you have the 3 inches at the top, and you're going to score that at 1/2 inch. Again, this is a pocket, so we're going to go ahead and cut out those corner squares. All right, that's a pocket for the center. All right, for the right-hand side, you need a piece that measures 12 inches by 5.5 inches. Okay, make sure. Yeah, I guess this is just a little bit more than 5.5 inches. All right, so with the 12 inches at the top, we're going to score it at 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches, 10.5 inches, and 11.5 inches. Okay, 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches, 10.5 inches, 11.5 inches. Okay, this is going to be scored so it looks like this. Okay, just like that. This is going to be for the right hand side inside. Then you're going to have another piece that measures 10 inches by 3 inches. And with the 10 inches at the top, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch and 9.5 inches. This is going to be a belly band. You'll fold that over. Okay, that is also for the right hand side, the inside of the album. Last thing you need is for the outside on the right hand side. And you need 2 pieces that measure 3 3/4 inches by 8.5 inches. And for the first piece, you're going to go ahead and stick that in your scoreboard with the 3 3/4 inches at the top, and you're going to score it at 3 1/4 inches. Okay, so you want a little 1/2 inch score line width. Okay, that's one. The other one, you want the opposite. So the 3 3/4 inches at the top, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch. And that's going to go there. Then we have 2 pieces that measure 4.5 inches by 5.5 inches. With the 4.5 inches at the top, score it at 1/2 inch. Okay, and you're going to do that to both pieces. Okay, these are going to be folded down backwards, and these are going to be a top and a bottom flap. And the prior two are going to be a left and a right flap. So they're going to overlap just like so. Okay? And then we'll use a little string and tie those shut. Okay? All right, so let me put this aside. Then we can go ahead and start gluing down. Start putting this thing together. All right. Bring in. Okay. First thing we want to do is our ribbon. Don't want to forget about the ribbon. So on the inside left-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and put down some double-sided tape in my case. Then I put down the ribbon, and then I double-sided tape again. Okay? And then with your album fully closed, you're going to have the other end of your ribbon on the back side. So all the way closed, and you're going to have it right here. And go ahead and I use double-sided tape again to close that. So you're going to see this open up. Okay, I'm going to move all these papers out of the way really quick. And you can see what the heck I'm doing here. So this is the right-hand side. Fold it in. You're going to see the ribbon is back here, okay? On the very back of your album. All right. Now let's get started with the left-hand side. So the first thing that we're going to do is you're going to find your first piece that was 12 inches wide by 9 inches tall, the one that you scored at 1/2 inch and 5/8 of an inch, and you're going to make sure that you have that 1/8 inch gusset folded really well, and then you're going to fold this right hand side back onto itself so that you end up with this 1/2 inch strip. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and glue this down first. So we need to place glue along that 1/2 inch. I'm going to remove a section of my double-sided tape, and then I'm going to place this down right along the edge of my album, making sure that I still have that 1/8 inch gusset. Okay, just like that. Find my little tool here. All right, perfect. Okay, next we're going to start with the pocket. That was the first piece, so we're going to open this thing up to the left, and this pocket is going to go right inside. So I'm going to fold back the sides, fold back the bottom, go ahead and burnish that, and this tall pocket is going to go right here. Now make sure that you don't overlap with that 1/8 inch gusset. Very important, so that the book will actually, the page will turn, and we're leaving space for the thickness of our goodies. Also, I'm going to leave this double-sided tape down for a moment, and I just know that I'll have to pick it from the inside, but that is okay. I'll reach in there and get it when I put my decorative paper down. All right. I made sure not to overlap that gusset on the left-hand side so that this will close very nicely. All right, next we need our tall pocket, skinny pocket. So I'm going to fold the sides, which is the top and the bottom, and then I'm going to fold back the right-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and burnish that flat, and this will fit right here on top of the pocket that we just placed down. Okay, so let's go ahead place this down, centering it top to bottom. You should have a little bit, just like a 1/8 inch gap or overhang at the top and the bottom. And then you want to align the right-hand side, okay? All right, next we're going to have the two smaller pockets, and these are going to get stacked right on top of each other. So again, we're going to fold back the sides, fold up the bottom, do a little burnishing here. I have one that goes right here, and the next one that goes right on top. That is going to go right here. So in both cases, I want to end up with about 1/2 inch above the pocket. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue these down. I'm going to leave a 1/2 inch here, just eyeballing that. You should align with the right and the left hand sides. And this bottom one. I'm going to line up with the bottom, not leaving any extra space down there. Okay. All right, next we're going to grab our next piece that was 12 inches by 9 inches. Okay, and with this page closed, what we're going to do here is I'm just going to run a very little bit of glue, a bead of glue right along the edge of this 1.25 inch flap, and then I'm going to run a bead of glue very light-handed along the edge of this piece here. Okay, then we're going to lay these down with this folded inwards like this. So we're going to lay it down on top, and I'm using the outside of my book and the bottom of my album to align my page. Okay, and then I'll give this a good burnish. Open it up. This is going to be my continuation of my pull-out page, okay? And I think I have to straighten out this. Okay. All right. Next, we have this piece that was 12 inches, but it's only 6.5 inches tall. And we're going to go ahead and fold this so that the 1/2 inch is behind, and then you have a Z fold like so. Then we're going to go ahead and place glue on that 1/2 inch right there. And I'm going to choose to place this down just like so. I am placing it about 1 inch from the bottom, just eyeballing it, but that's about 1 inch. Okay, burnish it down. And this is going to be another pull out, okay? Just like that. We have our left-hand side, okay? All right, let's move on to the center. For the center, we're going to have the pocket. So fold in the sides, fold up the bottom, and this pocket is going to get centered left to right and all the way down at the bottom of our book. Okay. Centered left to right, and then even with the bottom of our album. Burnish that down. Very good. All right, let's move on to this inside piece here. Next, we need the piece that measures the 12 inches wide by this 5.5 inches. And for this, we're going to go ahead and just lay this flat first. And then we're going to grab our piece that measured 9 inches, measured 10 inches, and we scored it like so, so that we can place glue on the back side, and this is going to be our belly band. So I'm going to place glue on both flaps, and then I'm going to center this one right on top of that 5.5 inch wide piece, okay? Burnish it down there and there. I just aligned it with those inside score lines, okay? Like that. All right. Now I'm going to place glue here with the belly band up. I'm going to place glue there. Place glue on that end. I'm going to start with this one. Fold that 1/2 inch back. Place it here. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. Don't do that yet. Don't do that yet. Oh, please, let me wipe that off. Goodness, almost forgot. I want to take out a little bit from this edge. So I am using my envelope punch board, and let's use the outer edge of our piece, and I want to line that up with the 3.5 inch mark here, okay? And then I'm going to punch. Then I'm going to flip this over, and the outside edge, again, I'm going to line it up with the 3.5 inch mark, okay? Now I have those two notches, and You can just run this in your cutter, or you can use a straight edge, either way. Let me see. I have this on top of my cutting mat, so I'm going to go ahead and use my straight edge. So I'm going to just place my little blade here at the bottom of this first notch and align my metal ruler with the second notch, and then just cut. Just like that. I have my notch. Okay. Alright, now we can keep going. Now I can go back to putting my glue at the top here. Fold that under and align that with the top and that outside corner. Okay, burnish that down and then fold this back up. What we're going to do is place glue on this 1/2 inch strip. I'm going to make sure I get in frame. This 1/2 inch strip. Okay, and you're going to bend that down. Fold this back, and then you can burnish this and line it up with the outside corner here. Okay, and it should pop up. Okay, so basically you have a double belly band, okay, with this, but you have a little notch, and this is going to be the inside left, so that closes in first. Okay. Now we're going to deal with this outside right-hand side. The first thing we're going to do is our left-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and place glue on that 1/2 inch strip. Lining this up evenly spaced top to bottom along this left-hand side. Okay, and burnishing that down. Now I'm going to do the right-hand side. Place glue along that 1/2 inch and align this with the right. Now when you're overlapping, make sure that you are lined up top and bottom so that it's nice and straight, and that you aren't hanging over your top cover, chipboard cover. Okay, open it up, burnish it down. Alright, now we're going to work on the top and the bottom. It's going to go here, but before we do that, before I put those down, what we want to make sure to do, burnishing those really well, I want to mark both of these so that they are lined up, okay, lined up with each other, so that I can punch a hole, because we're going to need a 1-inch circle punch. So let's grab our 1-inch circle punch. Alright, I grabbed my 1-inch circle punch. I'm going to look through my stash of cut papers, and I am just going to grab something that I can punch a couple of holes in. So I'm also going to grab my little hole punch, and I'm going to just reach in and punch a hole, 2 holes, far enough in on the paper that I'd be able to use my 1-inch circle punch and put that little tiny hole in the center. Okay, again, I'm just eyeballing because this is paper crafting. And that's what works with paper crafting. Okay, alright, it's homemade. Next, I grabbed out of my stash 2 little brads, okay, and I'm going to use those to put these through my 2 pieces of cardstock that we cut. Now, I have these, I'm going to put these together like so, so that both of the 1/2 inch score lines are on the same side. I'm going to hold those together, and I'm going to figure out where is the center. You can use your grid mat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half. So that means 2 3/4, 2 3/4. This is going to be my halfway point. You can use a centering ruler if you like. You can eyeball if you like, but I'm just going to come up 1 inch into my paper, and that is where I'm going to end up putting, I think I came up more than 1 inch, right? Nope, that's right. I came up 1 inch. I'm eyeballing with my grid. Okay. Make sure these are aligned. Again, I'm going to use my hole punch here. All right. Now, that means both of those holes are aligned. Okay. So this is just going to be temporary so I can show you, but because we need to put our pattern paper on. But just so that I don't lose these, I'm going to go ahead and place my brad through. And I'm going to say need paper. And this one needs paper, because I'm going to cover that pencil marking up with the pretty paper, but this is going to allow me to use my string, okay, my twine. So now I'm going to place glue onto that 1/2 inch. Okay, bring my album back in, open these up, and I'm going to place this folded edge here at the top of my album, centering it left to right. It should fit just in between the left and the right side flaps, and you'll want to open this up and burnish. Okay, then you're going to do exactly the same thing along the bottom. So this one is going to line up with the bottom of our album cover. Burnish that down. Burnish that down. Left, right, bottom, and the top, and this will get the string. So we'll end up using our twine for this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and place just a big paper clip on that for the time being to hold it all together. So you have your outer string. This comes apart to hold a bunch of mats. Then you're going to have this belly band, this square boxed belly band. This is where our little folio is going to go. And then you have another belly band here that we're going to use for a couple of mats. We have our pocket in the center, and then we have this double pull-out spread right here that we're going to use for lots of good photos and more pockets underneath. All right, so let's get going with the rest of our album. Next, we're going to move on to the folio. Okay, everybody, let's get started with the folio insert. So we're going to start with one piece of cardstock that measures 11 3/4 inches by 8.5 inches, and with that 11 3/4 inches at the top, we're going to score it at 5.5 inches and 6 1/4 inches. This is going to give us a 3/4 inch spine here on our little folio insert. Okay, then we're going to have a left side and a right side, and that's what we're going to be working off of. So the next thing I want you to do is cut 4 pieces of cardstock that measure 6 inches wide by 8.5 inches. So you're going to take 2 pieces of cardstock, you're going to cut them down to 8.5, and then you're going to go ahead and cut those in half, and this is what you end up with. And with the 6 inches at the top, you're going to go ahead and score that at 1/2 inch. You're going to do that for all 4, and then you're going to burnish those, and you're going to put 2 pieces for your left side and stack it there, and then you're going to put 2 pieces for your right side of your folio. Okay, I'm just making 2 little piles here. Next, you're going to grab a piece of cardstock, and you're going to cut that down to 6.5 inches wide by 7 inches tall. And with the 6.5 inches at the top, we're going to go ahead and score it at 1/2 inch and at 6 inches. And then you're going to rotate it a 1/4 turn, and then you're going to go ahead and score it at 1/2 inch as again. And this is going to create a pocket, and for our pocket, of course, we're going to go ahead and cut those corner pieces out just like so. Okay. All right, that's going to give us a pocket. This is going to go on the left-hand side of our folio. Next, you're going to grab 2 of those cut-off pieces that you had. They should measure 3.5 inches wide, and you're going to cut those at 6 inches long. And with the 3.5 inches at the top, you're going to go ahead and score it at 1/2 inch. Then you're going to rotate it a 1/4 turn so that the 6 inches is at the top, and you're going to score that at 1/2 inch. You're going to do that to both pieces, but you're going to end up with L shapes and they're opposing sides to each other, because then we are going to go ahead and put these on top of each other, flip it over so that they are on top of each other, okay, and line these up. Now I want you to place this back in your scoreboard with the score lines closest to the edge. So at the 3.5 inch mark, you are going, with the 3.5 inches at the top, you're going to go ahead and mark that at 1.5 inches. Just put a little notch there, okay, with your pen or your pencil. Then you're going to rotate it a 1/4 turn, and you're going to have the score lines on your right-hand side. So now you have the 6 inches at the top with your scores on the right-hand side, and you're going to go ahead and mark that at 3 inches, okay? Once you do that, you'll have your 2 marks, and we're going to go ahead and cut that off at an angle. So as long as you have these lined up, just like so, you should be able to cut them at the same time in your scoreboard, or you can use your straight edge and just align those 2 marks. I'm going to do mine just like, make sure I can see mine, and that they are lined up. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and draw my line, and then I'm just going to use my scissors and cut. Okay, so we're going to cut that just like so, and now we have opposing pockets. Now go ahead and cut out the corners here of your score lines there as well, because now we have angled pockets. Okay, and that is going to go on your left-hand side as well of your folio. Next, you're going to grab another piece of your 3.5 inch drop paper, and you're going to go ahead with the turn this around. With the 3.5 inches at the top, you're going to go ahead and score that at 1/2 inch. And then rotate it a 1/4 turn, and with the 9.5 inches at the top, you're going to go ahead and score that at 1/2 inch and 9 inches. So your paper measures 9.5 inches by 3.5 inches. I don't think I said that. All right. This is also a pocket, so we're going to go ahead, of course, and cut out those corners again, just like that. Make sure that you're cutting out the width of the score line as well. This is going to go on your right-hand side. And then lastly, you're going to have one piece that measures 6.5 inches by 5 inches, and with the 6.5 inches at the top, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch and at 6 inches. Then you're going to rotate it a 1/4 turn, score it again at 1/2 inch, and of course this is a pocket, so we will cut out those squares once again. All right, that is for the right-hand side. Now you should have a couple of remaining pieces left over. One piece that measures 3.5 inches by 12 inches, and what you're going to do is put 12 inches at the top of your scoreboard and go ahead and score at 8. And this is going to make a nice little tag. Set that aside. And you have another piece that measures 12 inches by 5.5 inches, and with the 12 inches at the top, you're going to score it at 4 and at 8. Okay, and this is going to have a little V fold, just like that. And this is going to be one of your inserts as well into the pocket. Okay, let's go ahead and get to assembling. All right, we have our 2 piles. I'm just going to move those off to the side so that they're at the ready for me. And I'm going to start with my base folio piece, okay? Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab on the left-hand side. We're going to work on the left-hand side first. We're going to grab these two pieces, okay, these two large pages. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the scored edge against the outside of our folio, just like that. So we're going to start with placing glue on that little 1/2-inch strip. Okay, go ahead and line that up with the outside edge and burnish that down. Make sure I open it up and that the glue isn't oozing out all over the place. Okay, the second one, you're going to go ahead and place glue on that 1/2-inch strip. And you're going to place that folded edge to the right-hand side on top of the one you just glued down a moment ago. Okay, so this is going to be another little accordion piece here. And we're going to burnish that down. Make sure you open it up. Hold it down. Okay, now you're going to go ahead and grab the larger of the pockets. Okay, we're going to fold in the sides and then we're going to fold up the bottom. Give that a really good burnish. This is going to get placed right on top here. Okay, so let's go ahead and place glue here and here and there, so all three flaps, and we're going to align with the bottom and both the left and the right sides and burnish that down. Okay, next we're going to have our two angled pieces. So we're going to start with the right hand side. I'm going to fold in the side piece and then fold up the bottom. Okay, let me give it a nice good burnish again. Place glue. And I'm going to place this down right at the bottom as well. Align it with that right hand side. Okay, and then we're going to move on to the last of those two angled pockets. Give that a good burnish again. And again, place glue on the side flap and then the bottom. And we're going to just overlap right on top. Okay. Just like so. So now you have overlapping angled pockets. You have the larger pocket here. You're going to have this able to open up to the right, and you're going to have it open up to the left, just like so. Okay. And then we're going to work on our right hand side. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab that long pocket. We're going to fold in the top and the bottom pieces and then fold over the side, the long side. And let's go ahead and burnish that down really well. Okay, we're going to place this pocket first. So place glue on the top and bottom flaps along that long edge flap, and let's go ahead and place this folded edge right to the outside edge of our folio. Okay, so the pocket is going to be to the inside. Just like that. Okay, next we're going to grab our two larger pieces that are our pages, and we're going to start with placing glue on the folded flap. And the folded edge of that first flap is going to go down to the outside of our folio. Okay. Make sure that's straight and burnish that down, then open it up and burnish again. Okay. Close that back up. Now we're going to place glue on the second one. Let me burnish first. Okay, again place glue, and now that folded edge is going to go to the inside of our folio. Just line it up with that prior page. Okay. Just like that. Okay, now I want you to open this page up. Make sure you've burnished it really well. Okay, and last you're going to have this one last pocket. We're going to fold in the sides. We're going to fold up the bottom. Let's give that a nice burnish. Okay, and with this page open, we're going to go ahead and place this right on the inside here. Okay, so it's going to fold in like so. So I want you to do a dry fit first, okay, and we need to make sure that it's a little bit smaller than your underlying page. So what I want you to do is we're going to fix that by getting our scoreboard back out, okay, and with the 6.5 inches at the top, we're going to go ahead and actually score this at 5 7/8 of an inch, okay, 5 7/8 of an inch. So we're going to go ahead and refold that, reburnish it, and cut out that little additional piece of the bottom right there. Okay, so this is just a little bit smaller. Let me fix that. A little bit smaller than our page, because we definitely don't want it to stick out. So align it with the outside open page. So here we have this. Open it up like so. We're going to place this pocket right in here. Okay, so we'll place glue on those side flaps. Place glue on the bottom flap. And with that page in the open position, go ahead and put down your pocket with the pocket towards the outside edge. This is going to give a little bit of space in here by the fold. Okay, so it folds nicely. Okay, and that is going to allow for us to put our insert. This is the tri-fold insert right here in this pocket. You're going to have this long tag piece that's going to be able to fit right in here in the center, and we'll cut a couple more tags for inside of this folio, but it's going to work just like so. And this is going to go right into our side piece here of our album. It will close like so, it will close like so, and then we will have our tie over here. Okay, so this is the last thing that I did because I wanted to make sure that I had enough material, the ribbon. Okay, so let me tie this and we'll figure out how long do we want this. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, now let me go ahead and measure. Of course, when I tie, I don't know about you, but they always end up different lengths. So let's get a measurement here. Okay, this is clearly over 12 inches, so just over 12 inches. So let's say with the inside overhang that we used, we're going to do about 14 inches on this one. And then with the overhang here, to attach it to our book, we're going to say 20 inches on this piece. So if you cut two pieces that are 20 inches, that'll probably be just fine. But this is the album with an interior folio, and it should hold quite a few photos for you. And I will be back and show you how I have it final decorated, and then also the additional inserts. But let's see, this is how it looks on the inside. Plenty of space here. Okay, so you shouldn't have any alligatoring. Oh, we do need to attach the string as well, so let me not forget that. Right here, we need to attach our string. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to use this twine. Okay, and I'm just going to simply place the twine, wrap it around a few times, and then I will end up wrapping it around the bottom, just like so. Okay, and that is it. That is my tie closure. And now I just get to decorate. All right, I'll see you back here real soon. All right, let's get started with the walkthrough. This album is an album in an album, and it measures 6.5 inches by 9 inches, and the spine is 2 inches. I have used the copper paper here from Country Craft Creations, and I've also used the Americana collection from Carta. It's a beautiful collection, and I also had the solids that goes with it, the coordinating solids. So anyhow, this is, and I used brown artisan cardstock. So I will list all of the items from Country Craft Creations down below in the description box, where you can click on it and get right to making your project. So here is the spine, and then here is the back. Isn't that pretty? Look at this beautiful ribbon. I used a sticker here, one of the border stickers along the edge there, and this really wide stripe grosgrain ribbon. So, oh, let me show you from the top also. Here you go. Okay, so this is going to hold our second album, and this enclosure is the first one. All right, so we open it up just like this, and this is my little tuck. Let me get in frame here. So we have the left side, so it's basically like almost like a folio, but it's really a trifold. So you have the left here, you have your 2-inch spine, you have the right hand side, and let's go through this because this will open up yet again. So I've done some decorating here with some stickers and the ephemera pieces, and this opens up like so. Okay, and this pulls out. This is just a little slide for pictures. I put some of the cut aparts in there, again some of the stickers, and that's the inside. So then we have this piece here. This is one of the 4x6 cut aparts, and this opens like this, and then it opens again like so. I have plenty of space to write and journal and put photos here. One of the little stickers here. Isn't this cute? And then this will open like this way. And then we have a little tuck spot here. Then this will open again. Beautiful spot for photos, for matting here. I have another one of the stickers, a couple of those little ephemera pieces. Isn't that adorable? And then this opens up again. You'll have an opportunity to put, I left that open. Of course, nice big photo. You can fit 5x7s in here all over the place, okay? So I have that. Then this whole thing opens up like so. Again, you can put something large here, photos here. We have the small little pockets where you can put little photos on here. Okay. Then these little small pockets are on top of another pocket, so I have a pull out here. And I just glued my paper piecing like so, used a little bit of stickers there. This is of course one of the cut aparts. Plenty of spot for additional photos there. So that's that pocket. Then here there is a large pocket as well, so I put a couple of tall tags in there, and look at this beautiful ribbon. I love this champagne double-sided satin ribbon. And then of course I have the little twine pieces. And then I have another large pull-out like here with a foldable piece there. Did some paper piecing for a couple photos, and of course that's one of the ephemera pieces. Here's a sticker. Here's another ephemera piece, a little bit of paper piecing there as well. So let me go ahead and give you the measurements of all of the tags on this left-hand side because I did not do that with the cutting. that we went through. So this piece measures 9 inches by 9 inches, and of course you just score it in half at 4.5. So that's the little booklet. These tags, I'm telling you, I cut all of these out of leftover pieces. So this measures 3 3/4 inches by 7, let's see, 7 1/4 inches. And then I just used my little crocodile, what do you call that? Memory keepers, angle punch right there. So I have 2 of those, okay? Then this large one measures 6 1/4 inches, 6 1/4 inches, and then the length is a full 12 inches. And on the 12-inch side, you're going to score it at 3.5. That's for this flap here. Okay, so that slides right down in that large pocket there. And we have those double tags. These small hinged booklets, they measure 3 inches wide, and then they're 6 inches long, and I just scored it right in half. So of course there's 2 of those. Okay, I'll give you this one. I think I did. Or maybe I didn't. Let's see. Yep, 12 inches, so it's just scored in half, and it is 5 3/4 inches tall. All right, that's that one. And I just tuck this around this flap so that it keeps this smaller one closed. You can put, there's plenty of space here so that you could put something else to hold it closed if you like a large paper clip or what have you. Right? That's pretty cute. All right, now on this right hand side you can see that I used the twine and this closure here, so I show you how to do that in the tutorial. And then you're going to have the top flap here. There you go. The bottom flap here. And then we have these gate openings just like that. So of course you can put a lot of pictures right here, just stacking them up if you want, some extras, that kind of thing. But I thought this is super cute with the little stickers on either side. So that closes just like that. And then this whole thing folds open yet again, like this. So let me start with this middle section. We have this large booklet right here in the pocket, and I just put the sticker on top of the bronze paper there, copper paper, and this little booklet, let's see, is 11 inches wide and 8 inches tall, and so I just scored it in half, so that means I score it at 5.5 on the 11-inch side. Okay, and this is the back. Isn't that beautiful? And then I have one of the cut-aparts, that are just 2 of the cut-aparts actually, scored it right there and made it into a little booklet. Fun. Okay. Then on this right-hand side, we have another little booklet. This is for landscape side, so really cute. Double matting here, of course a couple of the stickers, and then this is the back, just like that. So this measures 9 inches by 8 inches, and on the 9-inch side, scored in half at 4.5. So look at this little cute belly band here. That is how I stuck that in. And this whole thing is a belly band. I show you that I put this piece in my envelope punch board and just do a little punch out. I think I measured that right at the 2 inches from the score, so for the envelope, and then I cut in between, but I show you that in the tutorial. So now we have, this will come either way because it's open on this inside and this outside, so you can push it out, and I decorated both sides. This is the back. Look how cute this is. Just did some paper piecing, did a little stitching, and I think that's adorable. And then here is the other side. Isn't that beautiful? There is the spine. So pretty. So first day of autumn. Move this out of the way. Opens up just like so. And I put some additional pieces. These are just scrap pieces, but I have 2 pieces that measure 3 inches by 3 inches. So I'm just tucking those right into here. This is just paper piecing where we glue down 3 sides. Okay, I love this paper. This paper is my favorite. Then we have a couple of 4x4 cut aparts. Aren't those adorable? Stick those in there. Then we have one of the, this was one of the other cut aparts, and I trimmed it down. Okay, every single side I trimmed down. So this cut apart ended up being 4 3/4 inches by 3 1/4 inches. And then I just backed it on another piece of, why is it sticking there? Too heavy-handed with the glue apparently. Another piece of the decorative paper. So that piece measured 7 1/4 inches by 5 inches, and you just score it in half on the 7 1/4 inch side. So 3 5/8. Is that right? Check it again. 7 1/4. 3 5/8 inches. Going a little brain dead here. Then I just folded this, you know what? I folded this back on itself, so it is actually 7 1/4, 8 1/4, 8 1/2. It was 8 1/2 inches, and I scored it in 2 places on that 8 1/2 inch side. The first one at 3 5/8, the second one at 7 1/4. And then you fold this one together like a Z fold and make a little pocket here. So you could put another little cut apart right in there. Isn't that cute? And that just tucks right in there as well. Okay, let's keep moving. Here I have angled doubled pockets. So of course we can put some more things in there, like another 4x4 cut apart. And then we have another little booklet here. This one measures 4 inches wide by, let's say 11 inches. Let me double check. Yeah, 11 inches, so scored in half at 5 1/2. That's just going to go right in there. I could put a couple more stickers on here. And then I have another little folded tag here. This one also measures 4 inches, so you can see this is just my leftover pieces that I wanted to use. And this one is a complete 12 inches, and we score it at 5. Okay, so that one will just tuck right in there. All right, that's the left-hand side. Now for the right-hand side. Beautiful paper here with one of the 4x4s. This is going to open up this way. Again, I just glued on 3 sides here, just doing some paper piecing with leftover pieces of the collection. Tuck that in there. Here I did a little 4x4, so of course I have it as a little booklet flap. So this measures 8 1/2 inches tall. And it measures, I cut it at, let's see, about 4 3/8 inches. Okay, isn't that adorable? So that opens that way. Now it's going to open again like that. We have a tall pocket here so we can stick some more tags in or some more of our cut aparts. It's cute. Hey there, pumpkin. Happy autumn. So we can put more stuff in that pocket. Here's another tag. It measures 3 1/2 inches. This is one of the cut aparts. I did cut this down, and then I paper pieced in here, and this measures 12 inches, and I scored at 4 inches on the 12-inch side. Isn't that pretty? The back side, we just have the yellow, so that tucks in right here. And then on the right hand side we have another pocket, so that I did a little bit of paper piecing there. And then this is a, what do you call these things? I don't remember what you call these things. Accordion. Oh my goodness. This is another one of the 4x6 cut aparts, but I definitely cut this down on all 4 sides. This piece of cardstock measures 12 inches long. I scored it at 4 inches and 8 inches, and the width of it is 5 1/2. So definitely have to cut down a 4x6 so that it will fit on the 5 1/2 inch. And then this is the back side. Isn't that adorable? I also cut this one down on either side, and the top and the bottom. Isn't that pretty? I love it. So that is my album in an album, and I hope that you have enjoyed this little walkthrough, enjoyed the tutorial. I've had a good time making this. I did have a bit of a break. We had a death in the family, and so I did take some time off, but I do enjoy my paper crafting, and I'm going to continue to do it. This is my last design team project for a while for Country Craft Creations. I'm going to take a break. I just need some family time, I decided, and I don't want to overcommit, but I'm not going anywhere. I am still crafting and will still share my goodies from time to time. So I hope again that you enjoyed this. Check out the links below to Country Craft Creations, and leave me a little note down below in the comments if you enjoyed this, or you know, if you want to see things in the future. I will plan to do another craft room tour at the beginning of the year. I have a lot of cleaning to do before then, but anyway, until next time, everyone, God bless you and happy crafting.